Now that the Winter Soldier has managed to escape the clutches of the Eurasian Triad, will the mutant opposition be able to save the man inside the animal? Well, let's hop into the pages of Ultimate Wolverine issue number 6 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as the issue opens up, Wolverine comes to in a deep, dark, secret prison, while the internal monologue we as the reader can observe is quoting, "Get this, A Christmas Carol?" You know, the famous Jacob Marley bit about how these are the chains I forged in life and I forged them piece by piece with my actions. Why on earth would a Canadian who's being manipulated by Russians be quoting a British author right now, you might be wondering at all time? Well, the answer might surprise you. For you see, once again, we're not actually hearing Wolverine's thoughts or even his dialogue. In fact, he doesn't say anything until the end of the very issue. Instead, narration duty is actually handled by none other than David Hallier, aka Legion. You see, this prison that Wolverine is in right now isn't even real. It's a creation of the mind, and yes, I know we literally just did a battle in the mind's eye only a couple issues ago, but guess what? We're doing it again. Seriously, this series is only 6 issues old, but it loves to repeat itself, doesn't it? Another thing this series loves to do is actually make Wolverine probably the least interesting thing in the Ultimate Wolverine book. Because if you're like me, you're probably saying to yourself, wait, Legion exists in this world, but isn't he like incredibly powerful? Shouldn't the maker have done something about him lest this guy challenge his new world order? Well, there's a good answer. You see, the maker actually killed Legion. He unmade him, if you will, but he also remade him after a fashion. Well, the Eurasians remade him, copying his brain patterns and turning him into a computer program. That computer program, we learn later by reading a little snippet in the back of the book, was actually captured by the mutant opposition and Beast turned into their own advanced AI. This Legion was no longer many, this Legion was only one, and now the good guys hope that Legion can use his amazing computing power to reach inside the Winter Soldier's mind and put right what the Eurasian Triad broke. And why yes, in order to break free of his programming, Ultimate Wolverine does have to do battle with a series of nightmarish versions of the Triad. First Magic, who here looks like goddamn Chernobog from Night on Bald Mountain, before eventually doing battle against Omega Red and his metal tentacles, before finally toppling Colossus, but we're not done yet. For you see, man formerly known as Logan, this actually being the first time in the series he has been referred to as Logan. Your greatest foe is not external, it's actually internal. Your darker self, the one that kills, the one that can be turned into a weapon, the one that you must overcome. If this sounds like completely trite, eye-rolling bumper sticker wisdom, it's because it absolutely is. Wolverine does battle against his darker half and is ultimately victorious. In doing so, he wakes up inside Opposition X's headquarters, wherein we see some familiar faces like the good guy Sabretooth, Gambit, as well as some new faces like Polaris and even Beast. Why is it everyone else got crazy alternate universe redesigns? They look older and more haggard, but Beast and Polaris just look like themselves. Also, I think the implication here is that Forge is actually the leader of this team in this crazy universe, because he asks Logan if he remembers himself. Does he remember who he is? Only for Wolverine to end this issue, and indeed the first arc, by snicking his claws and saying that he's the best at what he does. And so that was Ultimate Wolverine issue number 6, everybody, and oh man, what a thin issue in what is becoming an almost hilariously thin series. It really did take them 6 issues to do what was basically the Wolverine origin we all already know, with only minor alterations, and then they did it again and again and again before anything actually stuck. Wolverine being this world's answer to the Winter Soldier really ended up being more window dressing than it did anything else, right? The whole grafting adamantium onto a mutant idea being stolen from another scientist who was killed by the maker, yep, that also didn't really end up mattering. They really do manage to do the impossible in this series and make Wolverine kind of boring. And yeah, I know that's kind of the point. He's a blank slate. We haven't really met him yet. We haven't actually heard his internal monologue, and he really only becomes himself here at the end of this issue. But oh man, if you're trying to sell me on a new version of Wolverine in a new world, this was definitely not the way to do it. I stand by what I said before, and that is the most interesting things in this Ultimate Wolverine book actually have nothing to do with Wolverine himself. AI Legion, Captive Phoenix, and Professor Xavier's amputated brain, that stuff I would very much like to know more about. Maybe if I stick with the series, I will. But after 6 issues that feel like so much nothing, it's going to be a hard ask for me to come back for Volume 2. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I haven't 100% decided yet. As far as this issue goes, I guess I'd give it a 5.5 out of 10. Again, some of the art is pretty nice, the action scenes are well put together, even if I wasn't particularly interested or invested in what the hell was going on during. We've seen all the other Ultimate books manage to do so much more in the same amount of time, and it's honestly kind of amazing how safe and play-by-numbers this book ultimately ended up being, despite it having this big showy concept of Wolverine being the Winter Soldier. I hope one day this series can actually live up to that premise, or at the very least have more going on for me to talk about. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quests. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.